So you want your day camp to feel like a sleepaway camp. Where do you start? At the beginning, of course, the beginning of every week, and maybe even the beginning of every day. And equally as important is how you end your days or your weeks. It's about tradition, excitement, and culture. And we have two camp directors from two camps that do it better than most. Dylan Wade from Emerald Cove and Stacey Kotelov from Banner, who will be sharing their secret sauces with you lucky folks today. So buckle up, everybody. This is going to be amazing. This is the Day Camp Pod.
This is the Day Camp Pod from Go Camp Pro, bringing you the best ideas, strategies, and discussions in the day camp industry. You can find our show notes at daycamppodcast.com.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source for recreation solutions that will ensure that your camp thrives. Explore their website today at CRS4Rec. CRS is serious about fun. Scheduling shouldn't be so difficult and take as much time as it does. Come check out Camptivities to learn all about their scheduling tools, and they're specifically designed for camps by camp people. Save time, get rid of the mistakes, and get back to enjoying your summer. Find out more at camptivities.com. Let me tell you about CampMinder, the #1 camp database in the world. It has the most robust offerings of service features found anywhere. Every feature works together to create a full, seamless system that helps your camp office run more efficiently while giving your camp family state-of-the-art communication and financial tools. Check out the details at campminder.com.
Welcome back to the Day Camp Pod, the place where camp pros come to talk about what's working, what's not, and where we're headed next. I'm Andy Pritikin from Liberty Lake in the Philly suburbs of New Jersey.
I'm Sam Thompson from Crystal Lake Park District, Crystal Lake, Illinois.
There we go. We are so lucky. You know, in the off season, Sam and I, we make a big list of topics and ideas and such. And one of the things was assemblies. And we are so lucky that we got two great people. We've got Stacy from Banner Day Camp, the legendary Banner Day Camp in the greater Chicago area, one of Sam's neighbors. And we've got Dylan Wade, my new buddy from Wake, who I was on a Wake Zoom and heard him talking about all the traditions and stuff that he does. And I thought that would be a great sort of balance to Stacy, because Dylan, I don't know how many kids are at your camp on a regular day.
Yeah, around 120, 100.
Right, so that's like half of state. That's a half of one grade at Stacy's camp. So I thought that would be a really good balance here. So anyway, I want to start with Stacy, ladies first. So Stace, tell us what was it like growing up under the umbrella of this Banner thing? What was that like?
Well, my parents started Banner Day Camp before I was born, so I was raised into it. And all of my summers were at camp as a camper, and I went through the ranks of everything at camp, from CIT to junior counselor to leadership, and eventually taking over the camp 11 years ago when my parents retired. And, it was something that was always around the table, and at home, my parents were always talking camp. So it's just been integral into my life. Every aspect of my life has been Banner. So when my parents retired, my dad was the one who ran the Bannerama, which is our all camp assembly. He wanted that I was always a part of the Bannerama. I sang, and I was like a side person holding a mic that sometimes I did a little bit, but my dad was the main show running it. And so I was like, wow, how do I do that? How do I step into his shoes? But I did it as myself, and it is been one of the most amazing experiences at camp that I've really had. It's my biggest passion at camp is the Bannerama. All of it is so meaningful to me, but the Bannerama is just...
That's awesome. So let's set this up. I want to set this up a little bit for you. So I was fortunate enough to go to Banner about 25 years ago and got to see it firsthand. And I want to start it from the fact that I remember your brother telling me that you guys actually on your interview questions, on your application, you ask people, and so I've stolen this for Liberty Lake when I started my own camp in 2002. We asked them, do you sing? Like, do you perform? All that kind of thing. So from the moment you're meeting staff, you're finding out who your potential sort of helpers are.
Singers and dancers,
right.
DJ, that kind of thing. Yes, that's true. We do that.
And just so you get an understanding, like the commitment to the morning assemblies that they have at Banner, they built basically a Roman amphitheater. Like it's a gigantic amphitheater. There's three sides of children. So most camps, you would have a stage and then it would just be your typical little camp amphitheater. They have three sides there because they got a lot of kids and they have assigned seats. And as the kids, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, Stacey, from my memory, as the kids get off the buses in the morning, okay, they come in, they drop off their bags at their assigned seats, and then they go play.
Right, that's right. We have benches. So each group is assigned a bench and the kids come in and drop their bags at the bench and then they go play. They could go to the playgrounds or the floor hockey. Some of them go over to Gaga. They do some activity. Some of them stay. The musicians are already playing and singing. So
All
the
right,
kids
so let me explain that. So as the kids are coming off the buses, they've got these old hippie guys playing like reggae music and like feel good 70s yacht rock stuff. And like this stuff is happening. It's the background as the kids are going to play, right?
Right.
And like she said, they're playing, they're playing easy things. They're not shooting archery at each other and such like that, but they are playing. And it's a really interesting thing that you do not see at most day camps. I think most day camp operators are so worried about being in control of your kids and being on top of them and all that kind of stuff. And I was there walking around with Brad and I'm watching all these kids playing and I'm like, where are the staff? Where are the staff? I'm like having a heart attack myself. And they were there interspersed, but the staff are coming off the buses just like the kids are.
But
At,
we
at
do
Stacy's
have
camp,
specialists and leadership that are assigned to every area that's open. We call it AIMS, activities in the morning, before all the buses are in. Behind the scenes, we assign all the staff, and we also have AM, PM staff that don't take buses. So they're assigned to those AIMS so that they're ready, that when the kids get there, that
to
those are
receive
all
them.
supervised and safe.
And and
And
and this past
then
summer, how many buses did you have this past summer? Do you know?
I
Ballpark?
don't know exactly. There's maybe close to 70 buses.
Okay. So imagine 70 buses rolling in, and these are not 70 small buses, okay? And
Oh,
the 70 buses are coming in, and the kids are getting off gradually, and the
Yeah.
kids are plunking their stuff down, going and doing their AIM thing. And I have to tell you, it looked like a Norman Rockwell painting. It was like, it was just such a beautiful thing to watch kids just playing. Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't usually see that at camp. At camp, there's usually a grown-up telling the kids what to do. And to watch the kids just playing, it was just such a beautiful thing that I will never forget and that I try to recreate at my camp to this day.
Right. It is. It's amazing to be able to have that way of being. It is very structured and safe. We have leadership getting the kids off the buses and the staff walking the kids over to the benches. And then once they get there and they get comfortable, they start going to play. But the magic happens when it's usually 9:30. I'm watching the clock at the Bannerama and I give the sign to the guy in the sound booth to ring the bell. So they ring the bell. It's like a big, like bell.
Yeah. But you guys also play there's a song that you guys play. There was like a
That's right.
Wagner,
And
like
then we play
Flight of the
this.
Valkyries or something.
Right. We play the sit down music and it's quite long when we play the sit down music. And I get on the microphone and I say, okay, boys and girls, it's about time to start that morning Bannerama coming over from the ball fields and the playgrounds, from tetherball, from Gaga.
Right. I mean, it's like
heading
some
over to
kids,
the
it's a
Bannerama.
5-minute walk. It's a 5-minute walk for some
And
kids.
the
Yeah.
kids come in droves. Everybody comes over and the music gets faster and faster and crescendos. And by the time the music stops, everybody's there. And I say, good morning, boys and girls. And we start right into a song. Boom, we're right in the song. And that's
It's
how
like
we
a magic
start our
trick.
day,
Yeah,
every
it's
single
like a
day.
magic trick. And when I tell you, people, my listeners, it's like it's a production. It is a serious production. There's a lot of people working on this. There's a lot of people behind the scenes. There's a lot of people on stage, right? And when that music starts, it is like you are at a Taylor Swift concert for these little kids. And the music, and it's an unbelievable sound system. I mean, giant speakers. Okay, so you are
Well,
feeling
you
the
were there
music.
25 years ago. We've improved on the Bannerama and
Sure.
the sound system since then.
Yeah, well, it was my point is that it's an impressive sound system,
Hey.
and you're literally feeling it, and going back to those people that that she's hiring, right? They're up and down the aisles, and they are singing these songs and getting the kids all jazzed up. So it's not just like you're watching a television show in front; like it's coming out to you and reaching out and grabbing you.
That's right. So we have a we have a crew of people, like you said, during the interview, we ask people if they're singers or dancers. And like Sam said, she has returning people coming. She just invited people to, are you coming back? Well, we have many returning staff. I mean, so there's the fundamental people who run the Bannerama. I conduct the Bannerama and plan it, but we have these musicians that are just absolutely the most amazing people. Stu started when I was 13 years old. He's been at camp for 40, like 46 years, 47 years he's been at Banner. And he started as a counselor, but then my dad sort of gave him encouragement to sing, and he's become a professional musician. And he has come back to camp every summer to play. He's so sweet with the kids and so
Yeah,
much fun.
and he's just one of the guys. Like
He's one of the
it's a
guys. And then
it's
we
a
have
whole team.
Mike Fox, who's over 20 years at camp, and we have we had Rich at camp forever, 25 years, who's the like music director. He's moved to Tucson. He's only there part-time now, and we have a new guy, Iba, who's been doing it for a couple of years. So those are our main musicians, and then we also have a DJ dancer.
And these musicians you're talking about, they're specialists during the day. Like they're running music classes and stuff too. So she has a really good music program
Yeah.
on top of this,
Yeah.
right?
And
So that's
then
like your bonus.
Patrick does the drums. He's an
Right.
outstanding drummer.
Right. So my point with this is that you're like, oh, well, we don't want to spend the resources to have all these people just to have these big assemblies. She's using these people during the day for an awesome music program too. They're just getting a little bit of double duty because they come in a little earlier, for this Bannerama thing. And it's a real thing of beauty. So a typical Bannerama, Stacy, is like, what do we say, 20 minutes?
Yeah. So we have
A morning one. Yeah.
Banner does an all camp assembly, a Bannerama every morning. That's how we start the day. And every single afternoon, we gather everybody again together before they get on the buses to go home. The afternoon Bannerama is really like the higher energy of the two. The one in the morning is really fun and it's quicker. It's maybe 15 minutes. The afternoon one is maybe more like 20 minutes or so, and sometimes longer. Fridays are big Banneramas.
Mhm.
And the way I kind of plan it with the music is the beginning of the week on Mondays. It's like I build so that by the time we get to Friday afternoon, we are jamming like the best songs ever. Like we are rocking out on Friday afternoon, like there's no tomorrow. But there's also some special event.
Right. So when I was there, it was around 4th of July weekend. They were doing like Grand Old Flag and stuff like that. Like you had shtick that was like
That was a
that
special,
coincided.
right. That was a
Right.
special event for the 4th of July family picnic, which we did like we did that in the past
Yeah.
pre-COVID. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So the kids get pumped for all the days, and you have a thing for the birthdays. Talk about the things in the morning that are like the standard things that we're
so
talking about.
every day I start the singing, then we do birthdays. Mike has a song, Stu has a song, and then there's a team of staff, like we talked about the staff before. So there's a team of staff that I call the Banner Birthday Choir. And those are singers and musicians. So we have a singers meeting before camp starts, like during the week before orientation, and they give me their songs that they could sing. So you have all these counselors and junior counselors that are adorable, and they have songs that they do. So I have them practice. We have a meeting, and I have a list of their songs. Those people usually have between, like somewhere around 5 to 10 songs. Mike and Stu have hundreds of songs for both separated morning songs and afternoon songs. And I have the same for the DJ songs, because we have dancing songs too that we do that are not live. So they give me their songs, and then I write out the Bannerama. The morning we always do birthdays, and then Mike does a song, Stu does a song. We usually open, we stand there on the stage. I have one mic, and then I have Jacqueline and Melanie who also hold mics. And we usually open up with like a campy kind of song, like Zippity Doo Dah or Georgie or something like that. We open up singing and then we go into a Mike or Stu song and the birthdays. And then in the afternoon, I have the kids. We open up again. I say, hey, kids, it's about time for that afternoon Bannerama. And we start playing, we go right into a song and all the groups start coming over. They know it's time to start. And excuse me, then we have the kids get a chance to perform. So we have a couple groups come on the stage and the kids get a chance to perform. Sometimes we incorporate it. So we have that time that we do Mike and Stu songs, we do dance songs. And if you ever were at a Bannerama, the kids go crazy. It's like somehow there's no
Yeah.
inhibition.
It's like a rock concert for them. Absolutely.
Like the inhibition goes out the window, which I really love, because it allows the kids that are more introverted or more shy to get freed up and sing and dance in a kind of an anonymous setting because everybody's doing it. Also integrated into everything we do. Like in the morning, I always do a gratitude, something that we're grateful, and I'll ask the kids, okay, guys, tell me something, your favorite food that you're grateful for. And I'll pick kids out of the audience and they'll raise their hand and they'll stand up and they're like, I like spaghetti and meatballs. Or I'll ask them what their family member that they're grateful for, or something about camp that they're grateful for, or music or nature. Every day I give them a gratitude prompt, and throughout everything we do, we're trying to integrate this intentional development of gratitude and resilience and empathy and friendship and kindness and sportsmanship. And it's in everything that we do with them. And I always integrate it into the Bannerama. It's a message that I'm able to put out there and able to acknowledge the kids. Tell me about a time that you were a good friend. Tell me about a time that you were a good sport. And they share, and it's like they're getting acknowledged for it.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source for recreation solutions that will help ensure that your camp thrives this summer. Check out their inflatable aquapark courses for pools or lakes, the prime cards, the cool little go-kart things, the emergency alert and lightning detection system. Whoa, the splash pads. Whoa, if you got the money for that, splash pads is the way to go with the heat we got. The Zoom Flume, a lot less money, and we'll talk about the most awesome order of slip and slides that you could possibly get. The jumpers, okay, for bouncing all around the place. Mini golf, the prefab cabins and pavilions and bathrooms, the shade structures. Lord, do we need shade structures these days? The shade structures cannot be beat. And of course, the playgrounds, including the ones with the cool musical components. Anyway, CRS, Commercial Recreation Specialists, your go-to source. Explore their website today at crs4rec.com because CRS is serious about fun.
I'm really glad that the person that put together the video, which you will all be able to see in our show notes, there's a great Bannerama video that they made this summer. I'm really glad that they put that in because I think it's really important to know that it's not just Six Flags. Right? It's not just this performance thing, right? That it is about the values and the virtues and the culture that you guys have at camp. And you do a really good job of intentionally doing that. And I have to give you a lot of credit, Stacy, because I haven't seen you do it, but watching your father do it was something else because her father is this really sort of like, if you talk to him normally, just low key, kind of chill guy. And he would get out there for Bannerama and he would just completely change his persona. It was sort of like, he reminded me of Michael Brandwine because when you talk to Michael normally, by the way, former counselor at Banner, right? He's a very chill guy, but when he goes on, he's on. You flick the light switch and he's on.
Right. My dad was very dynamic with it. So it was big shoes to follow. And, it's a team of people who do it. We have sound technicians who work on it. Jacqueline helps me a lot with the lineup, but I write the lineup of the music. But behind it all, we have these things that are called Mad Balls that started, I don't know when the Mad Balls started, but it was many, 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 many years ago, like so long ago.
This is
And
before they started shooting T-shirts into crowds at stadiums.
that's right. That's right.
You guys were
So
doing Mad
it's
Balls
like the
first.
kids still to this day, just they sing and dance their heart out because they want to win a Mad Ball. And the way they win a Mad Ball is when their whole group is singing and dancing. And by the way, the staff, we do it with the staff even before the kids get there during the week of orientation, where we do Bannerama, and like they're all in. Like they are all in. And these stupid Mad Balls, which have changed over time, we haven't been able to get the same ones, are iconic. I mean, they are iconic. You see them being sold on eBay, banner, like they're like such treasures for the kids that they really want it. And like, so they're really motivated. And I get them quiet and sitting down. It's like they're singing and they're going all out. Like we're jamming, all of us together. It's an awe experience. It's like when we're all, as you guys know, when you're all singing and dancing and everybody in the whole arena, the whole Bannerama is all together doing one thing, we experience awe. It's like a joy experience of being together in a community where everybody's doing the same thing at the same time with such abandon
Passion.
and such
Passion.
joy. And it's just amazing. It really
Yeah,
is.
well,
It's
it's part of being something bigger than you, right? It's
right.
that thing, right? The typical kid now that lives in this house in their hermetically sealed, air conditioned house that goes on a little play date to their friend's house and they
Right.
live through their, their iPads and their whatevers. Like this is the complete opposite kind of experience. That's what you're giving them. And it's
Yeah.
transcendent, right? It gives you that feeling of hope that you can do more and that anything is possible, right?
Right. That's right. It's super exciting. It's really amazing and it's so much fun.
And something I want to point out also is, because I've never seen a camp with commitment to assemblies like this, except for you guys. Like the amount of time that it is not just for planning, I'm talking about, that is dedicated to it in the camp day. Because I remember going off the first period and it was like 10 minutes to 10. And I'm like, I've been here for like, for a long time. And now we're just starting our camp activities. And your brother was like, yeah, that's how important Bannerama is to us,
I'm very sensitive to time, probably more so than my dad was with getting the things. Like I try to get them out as soon as possible. We've extended our days since the time that you
Mhm.
were here back then. So it's super important that they get into the program and the activities
But what time does your first period start?
in 9:45. So
Okay.
usually it's
And
15 minutes. We start at
yeah.
9:30. I let them go by
And
9:40.
then what time does your last period end?
We start that afternoon Bannerama officially at 2:45, but I really started a little earlier than that.
Uh-huh.
So the group
And
started,
then
kids are coming out.
and then what time do you dismiss to the buses
So we
normally?
start dismissing to the buses, like I get them all seated and quiet and dismissing. They're loaded up on the bus, out of the lot, gone by 3:30, but we start dismissing, let's say at 3:00, like 3:05, 3:07, 3:10, whatever. I start dismissing the drivers first. They meet up. So while Bannerama's going on, all the drivers go and meet with our transportation directors
Mhm.
and about anything that they need to know for their route. And so it keeps things organized. It's like the whole camp is there and you're able to get them seated. You're able to call out whoever you need to call out. It really helps it be pretty organized. Yeah. So I would
And
say it's like 20 minutes.
do you have like is there a general song that you usually start with, or every morning could be different?
Every single day we start with, I ring the bell and play the sit down music and say, good morning,
Mhm.
boys and girls. It's time to start that morning Bannerama. And the song that we open with every day is different. We use a lot, it's camp songs, but we with different songs, like I said, it's usually me, Melanie, and Jacqueline who open up singing one of the like typical kind of camp songs.
Gotcha. And what about at the tail end? Is there a typical song that you guys end with, like maybe on a Friday, especially like at the end of the week?
For the very last, for every day before we dismiss, I I get everybody seated and I say, I'm looking for the straightest and quietest campers. And they're sitting there like this. And then I start calling by rows of the benches to dismiss. And then once, excuse me, all the groups are dismissed, all the benches are dismissed, then the singers sing Mickey. Now it's time to say goodbye.
Oh, wow.
And then
Old school.
they go to Mickey, the goodbye song from Mickey. M-I-C-K. And then I say, see you real soon.
Well,
Why? Because we love
you
you.
guys are keeping alive a lot of old
Yeah.
songs. I mean, you said
Oh my
Zippity
God.
Doodah before.
You said reggae, but it's not really reggae. Mike and Stu play, it's like Beatles and the Doors. You're right with the
Yeah.
60s and 70s. The Beatles, the Doors, Rolling
Yeah.
Stones. I
I
picked the
just
songs through the
I
Bannerama.
just remember
Rock and Bannerama. So I pick the songs I like best. There's
that's
lots
awesome.
of different songs we work with.
Well, I just remember, again, going back to like my memories, who knows what's real at this point. But I just remember like it was like the most amazing, like the sun is shining, like Bob Marley song. And it
Uh-huh.
was just like it was so surreal. It was just so beautiful. It
Yeah,
was
yeah,
great.
yeah. He does do three. Yeah, there's a couple.
Stacy, I know you do a little unusual thing with all your bus duty people as well. You've got your drivers and your people on the bus, and they have lots of activities they do and singing on the bus. And
Right.
they have the program started when they pick them up at the door.
Well, an
As soon
interesting
as they're on
thing
the
that I
bus.
saw then that we've integrated a little bit into Everwood in Massachusetts is from what I remember, they pick up the majority of their staff comes in on their buses. And
That's it.
because of that, they have a lot of people, like these buses were coming in, like you said, Sam, and there are people playing guitar and singing songs and stuff with the kids on the bus.
Right.
It
And I
was
forgot
pretty
to tell
phenomenal.
you that in the morning, we also, thank you for the reminder. We always have bus songs singing. So all of the buses, we want all of the buses to come up and do their bus song. So yes, they sing and they play games on the bus coming into camp and on their way home from camp, all the staff ride on the bus with them. And then at some point during the summer, they get up on the stage and they perform their bus song. That's one of the things we do in the morning is the morning bus songs.
Yeah. And you know, shout out to Stacy's dad, who came to Tri-State Camp Conference, 30 years ago and was telling us, all us Northeasterners, all these things, similar to Sari from Robin Hood's dad was doing a similar kind of thing. So really did help share the wealth. And you had a
Amazingly,
lot of visitors because of that. A lot of people from the Northeast came and to watch you guys, to see it in action.
yes, I was in that session with them. We had a Bannerama session. We did we did a Bannerama there in the, in the hotel room, wherever we were. We ran
Right.
a Bannerama. My dad
Right.
did
New
it.
York Hilton.
Yeah.
Right. Totally. Oh, it's so neat. So from that experience, I brought that. At the time I was at North Shore Day Camp, and I brought, a Monday morning and a Friday afternoon, like a bookend kind of assembly to the thing. And I wrote a camp song that hopefully they're still playing there. And then when I started Liberty Lake, I did it there too. I think, to have a large day camp like yours, to be able to get everybody together, you have to have the right facility. So it starts with that. But, because most day camps that don't have a giant amphitheater like that, they have like one for their first and second graders, one for the third and fourth graders, and one for the fifth and sixth graders. But to be able to get everybody together,
Yeah.
it's like a religious experience, plain and
It
simple.
really is. It's so powerful, and it's our community. It's like we have such spirit. And I always tell the kids, we are part of a special community. We're there to lift each other up. We take care of one another. We look out for one another. We are part of this special experience being at Banner together.
Yeah. And we have a wake up song that I'll put in the show notes. It's Lisa Loeb's wake up song. It's super cute and the kids really get into it. And I know a lot of camps have that kind of thing. And then on Friday afternoons, we end with the Liberty Lake song. And the kids, if it's your last day of camp, you're allowed to get on stage and sort of jam out with the band, rock out with the band, and dance on stage, which is a big, cool tradition that everybody gets into. But yeah, I give Banner a lot of credit for the way that we do things at Liberty Lake.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
it's really special. And I hope you guys take the time to watch the video, because it does give a good sense of the excitement. It really does. Of course, you don't know what it's like when it's 1,000 people and the energy of that's something, unto itself, but you get a good sense of it from the video.
Speaking for those people that are in all different locations, we have one afternoon where we're all together that we can do on Friday afternoon, they can finally do something with all the camps together. But we're at a public beach doing it. So you can make it special and whatever if you don't have the big resources, but the premise is so important.
How do you
that if
organize that, Sam?
we take over about half the beach over by the amphitheater, and we do have a sound system, just a carry around one. But we'll have a sing off and do some other stuff on Friday afternoon just to close out each week. But in the mornings, we have to get in swim lessons immediately when they arrive. So we can't do a startup activity, which is very frustrating, but we're beholden to the lifeguard schedule and the public lessons and whatever.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you can do it,
Yeah. If there's a will, there's a way, and you can, even if you're hampered by swim lessons first period or something like that, there's still ways that you can try to do it. And what Sam said about the sound system is important. I bought recently a thing from Anchor Audio System. It's called the Bigfoot, and that thing's like $3,000 or $4,000. But it wheels around, it pulls apart, it's battery powered, so you charge it, and this thing can make an entire football field, like, with sound loud. It's amazing. So they make technology is really, really good these days as far as sound, and the wireless microphones, attached to it, and you can Bluetooth your iPhone and all that for the music. It's called Bigfoot. I recommend it highly to you all. And that's the expensive one. They have a lesser version than that. That's like, I don't know, the Abominable Snowman. I don't know. All right. But anyway, let's just take a quick break for our sponsors, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about Emerald Cove in California.
Scheduling affects every camper and every staff member's summer. It's easy to make mistakes, and it takes a ton of time. Bottom line, scheduling is hard, but it doesn't have to be. Let Camptivities help you create a balanced and engaging schedule without the mistakes, without those long days and late nights. Camptivities does auto scheduling, camper scheduling, group scheduling, elective scheduling, manual adjustments with over 60 different reports, and tons of customizable settings and so much more. Now is the time to find a better way to schedule this summer. Don't wait. Next summer will be here before you know it. And there's time to do it now. We'd love to show you the next big thing at camp. So visit camptivities.com to set up a time to chat. Let them help you get away from your desk and get back outside with those kids at camp. As a camp director, you're a leader of your camp and a pillar in your community. When your customers put tremendous trust in you, CampMinder's powerful management software tools deliver the day-to-day task support that helps you make every touchpoint moment memorable and every summer stellar. CampMinder has the most user-friendly platform for both your staff and your parents, and is backed by a team of crafty engineers and customer service associates who are constantly thinking of ways to optimize your camp's database, communication, and financial management. With state-of-the-art app for your camp families and an API available for third-party softwares, CampMinder is always evolving elite summer camp software. Check them out today at campminder.com.
And we're back. All right. So, Dylan Wade, tell us about you. Tell us about Emerald Cove.
Yeah. Well, first of all, this has been great. I've learned a lot from Stacy just so far. I'm very
Remarkable.
envious of a lot of what she was talking about. But yeah, I'm the director of Emerald Cove Day Camp in San Juan Capistrano, California. And
By the way, you should all look that up. Okay.
Yeah.
Say it again slowly. Say it again slowly.
San Juan Capistrano.
San Juan
California.
Capistrano. Look that up. Okay. And the pictures that come up in Google Images make you just want to run away from home to go to this place.
Yes, well, it is. Yeah, it's a little different than the Midwest setting in Illinois there, but Banner. But yeah, it's been we're a day camp, but we're tied also to a sleepaway camp up in Yosemite area, a Yosemite Sierra Summer Camp, and they've been around for 50 years, and about 18 years ago started a day camp based off of the sleepaway camp. So we've taken a lot of those traditions from that area and we've kind of integrated them, and we're serving younger kids than the sleepaway camp. And I started there. I was up at doing the sleepaway thing.
Really?
And then
where did you actually grow up, Dylan?
I grew up on the shores of Lake Michigan in northern Michigan. And so I love those Midwest places, and I feel exactly what, that the feeling when I've looked at Banner is like, yes, I know what that looks like and how that feels. And then, but yeah, I got involved in camp as a boat driver and the nature guy, the nature specialist. And then when they started this day camp, 18 years ago, they asked me to come on as to help start that. And then I did that for a couple summers and went away, ended up directing another camp. And then they called me back when my predecessor and friend and mentor headed off. And so I've come in and inherited a program that it's really neat because I saw what it started as, and then to come back 15 years later and to see how things have evolved and grown. And I introduced a song my first year that I had known, and I put, my stamp on that song. And then I came back 15 years later, and it's like that telephone game. The lyrics are all different and the movements. And I was like, oh, that's not how it goes. But that's so cool to see them put their own stamp on it,
That's neat.
But yeah, so it's pretty small in terms of size of camps. We're on a school property. We rent the property. We don't own it. But we wanted to create, when we were starting it, that same feel, like a flag raising at a resident camp feel, and then something to close us out. So we called it Amp Up and Amp Down. And we went around to all the other wake camps around here and got a lot of different ideas and kind of started to make them our own. And it's been so neat as to see that. I think that main focus that we're going for in our mission to, that kind of aligns with our mission with Assemblies, is that community feel. I think that's so important to us, that we established that what togetherness feel at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day. It's what they start their day with, and when they're going home, that's what they're going home with. So it's really purposeful to put those bookends in. And ours is a little bit more, there's so many traditions are established at these times, but we've also given some, every year it kind of takes a different feel based on who we have leading it. I think one similarity between the two is that we've had one person that really put their stamp on it. That musician that came along, for us, it came from our sleepaway camp, came down, who wrote all the songs way back in the 70s for our sleepaway camp. And then he came to our day camp and added some verses and changed some songs around and made some songs just for us. And he was a great singer-songwriter. It's been awesome to leave a legacy for that. And those songs that are only found at our camp that we introduce and we sing, and that helps our campers, like, oh, this is a special time, and I'm a part of this now. We have an Emerald Cove song. So Emerald Cove, where the giant mosquitoes rove, ba-dum, something's burning on the stove in Emerald Cove, my Emerald Cove. And then they get to make a verse.
That's
so
great.
They're we call them pod groups instead of cabin group, they're pod groups. And they go, and throughout the week, or that when we have 2-week sessions, so we'll have 2 weeks for them to come up with a verse to it. And they're all over the place. There's no, the counselors are to help them out. And then on our final closing ceremony at the end of the 2 weeks, they get to come up and do their rendition of the song. And so that's always like, it helps them feel a part of something bigger. And here's how we've kind of established their belonging to this, and just feel a part of it. So
Yeah. So take us through. So here I'm a little kid. I show up at Emerald Cove. All right. And I get dropped off. What then what? How does the day start?
yeah. So we don't have, parents are dropping off, and so we get them on this little train, our Emerald Cove train is what we call it, and it's a golf cart with two trailers, decked out, looks fun. We have plenty of pictures on our website to kind of
It's hilarious.
and we go literally 100 yards. But that experience, but we obviously drive around a ways, and we're,
Hmm.
and then eventually end up 100 yards down in a field. And we don't have the amphitheater. We did at one of our spaces years ago, but we've had to move. And now we don't. So instead, we've created just a small stage, like a 10 by 5 foot.
Yeah. Well, for
stage.
150 kids, you
Right.
don't need that much. You
And
just
it's
don't.
like it's 6 inches off the ground.
Yeah.
And then we just congregate around it. And so it takes a little while to get through everybody on the train and over there. So we'll have a couple of our staff just doing some silly songs or playing some music to kind of set. But then we start our day off with a wake up song created by the same guy. His name's Sonny Salisbury, and he's on Spotify and Apple.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Give us that link.
So
Absolutely.
I'll give you guys the link.
We'll change the words and make it more camp songs.
Yeah. And so it's a funny wake up song, and we put water in it, so we're splashing them with water. It's hot in Southern California in the summer, so we're getting them wet as often as we can. And then we'll start with that wake up song. Then we'll get into a couple songs, and that can change around a little bit through the week, depending on the day and what's happening. And then we also have, we try to mix in some fun and some whether it's some skits. We have a tradition which is called Amp Can. So we found that we want to get our staff, as much of our staff on that stage as possible through the 2 weeks at camp. And so it's really powerful, we found, for our campers to see our staff in action in some way. And so
they're modeling courage, they're modeling bravery, they're modeling leadership by doing that. So that's gonna get the kids to do similar.
And it changes the mindset of the kid, seeing they're someone they know and they feel attached to do something, and it's almost as if they themselves are
They
up on
feel
that
the
stage.
pride of it.
Yes, they want to see their counselor up there. They want to see that staff member they connected with at some point up there doing something silly or fun or courageous. So we ended this AMP camp thing. So we have a competition amongst our counselors where we'll say, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's different times in the program of the amp up time. Someone will say, Amp Can! And so somewhere hidden in the nearby areas of bushes somewhere around is just a decorated old tin vase, I think it was at one point, but somebody took it over and decorated it, and they have to run out there and find it. And the team that finds it, or the counselor finds it, brings it back, puts their hand in and pulls out a piece of paper with a song on it. And then they have to perform that song with everybody. It's usually one of those silly camp songs, repeat after me type thing. And they might bring on another counselor to help them, and everybody gets into it, and it just breaks it up. It's silly and kind of fun.
I love that it's a huge activity that ends, and by the time you get to stage when you've found it, you're not nervous about singing whatever it is anymore because you're so amped up, like you said. Ready to go.
And we try to establish this culture of early on at our training, know a song. We're onus on all our staff, every staff member. We want you up there at some point in the summer. Now, there are some who are more naturally inclined. They are already halfway there, and so it doesn't take much encouragement. They're up there doing it. But there's some that take their time, and we have to kind of nudge and push and find that right song that fits their personality that they can get up there and feel comfortable with. But yeah, I think we've been pretty good at getting 100% of our staff. So we got that amp camp piece. That's a really fun. We brought in another new one in the last couple of years is pretty neat, is the getting to know your counselor. So we'll have our MCs kind of we'll play a little jingle, and then that announces, hey, it's time for getting to know your counselor. So they'll bring up a random counselor and then ask them some really silly questions. And we try to use pretty brief, like 3 or 4 questions that have off topic, or it may be something that to introduce something later in the day. So it's just another silly component that kind of breaks up in between the songs. And then it's mostly time of silly, fun songs, getting them ready for the day. We do a point system we have Team Emerald and Team Cove, and they're duking it out all the 2 weeks, who gets the most points. And there's various points with the sandcastle competitions and all camp game competitions and stuff that culminates in one of the team captains getting doused in water at the end of the session. So they're all invested. And so there's some things like that, but mostly it's revolving around the music and it's the active songs where they're dancing, they're moving, and getting that a group camaraderie pieces where they're having to work together to do parts of the song. So yeah, it's about 20 minutes as well. We sometimes if I have some overzealous counselors or MCs that might go a little longer, and we got to come on, let's go. We got to get to our next thing. But for the most part, it is the thing that I think probably brings the most fun and joy to our campers. And then those songs that we sing are going home more than probably anything else. In terms of from a parent perspective,
adults,
right? What they're hearing is not what happened at camp. It's those songs over and over. And it kind of drives your parents to some degree. Like, we just can't get, and we tell them where to download all of Sonny's songs and so they can take but that's probably one of the things that sticks in our campers and our parents' heads the most is those songs. So this is the time where those are introduced. And like what you were talking about, Stacy, when we go on our buses to our various things, we're training, we're intentional with our staff. There should not be quiet on this bus. You are singing songs the entire time.
Hey.
You're not, this is keep those things going. And they're introduced to Amp Up, but they go throughout the entire day. So that's Amp Up. Amp Down's a little different. It's we start off with 1 or 2 songs, but the majority of our time is ending the day with we call highlights, where we are tasking counselors to find one character defining moment of one of their campers that during the day. And so they bring up each counselor gets an opportunity to come up on the stage, bring the camper up and put their arm around them and say to the whole camp what awesome thing that they did today, whether in pushing the character defining thing, their kindness, courage, the variety of just the things it's really neat to see how that impacts them. And then that's how we end our day. We'll do a little gathering. We have another song. We sing the same song we sing up at Sleepaway Camp, the Good Night song, even though it's not good night, but we sing that. It's just a tradition to end our day. And then they head off, hopefully feeling pretty full, even though they might not have been the one that was highlighted that day. They know someone who was highlighted, and that hopefully keeps them feeling, that full.
Yeah.
Dylan,
And like you said, it's culture affirming.
Yeah.
You were talking about how the camp songs come home with them. I remember in the middle of the winter catching my daughter doing the dishes, singing camp songs.
Mhm.
And I think she was even in high school. It wasn't even the age she was going to camp, but it really does become part of them.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I think there's a feeling attached to those songs too, right? So they're when they're singing those songs, they're singing with more than that, because they're those memories that they've created. It is something that cements the feeling of camp well in kids, and how they can, that it brings them back. And so I think that is something, and I don't know if that's was our intentionality when we went in and made sure we were doing these songs, but it is the byproduct of it. And I think that's really cool that, camp can travel in that way beyond the boundaries of where they were.
Yeah.
Through
I
song.
got a couple of questions based on your stuff there.
Yeah.
First of all, I just gotta point out like how lucky you guys are to have that sleepaway camp connection.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where Stacy's dad, like, did he go to sleepaway camp? Is that where Bannerama came from,
Dad's
or what?
uncle had it was called Harry Heller's National Athletic Camp. So my dad's uncle had a day camp, a sports camp that my dad grew up going to and working at. My grandma worked at it too. And that's what inspired him. That's what he loved the most, was camp, and gave him the courage to be able to go off and do his own camp.
Right. Because I'm just saying, like, the gathering of the whole camp together, like, that's just such a intrinsic sleepaway camp thing, to get around the flagpole and all that kind of thing. And it's just something that a lot of day camps don't really pull off, which just seems like low hanging fruit. Like, why not?
Yeah.
So it's just so nice to be able to bring those traditions over, that you guys did, and to have that guy also come and change the songs. I mean, what a blessing. You mentioned in the morning about people getting wet. How are they getting wet?
So yeah, we just bring out some buckets of I props to I love that, and it's something that's really cool, is that we have our support team that sets everything up in the morning, brings the stage out, brings all the stuff. We have speakers, but it's pretty small, and we don't need much because we don't have.
And what the site you're currently on now is a what during the year?
It's a school playground, and it's a field. It's an athletic field, and we have blacktop.
So you're making something out of nothing, basically, here.
Yeah, and that's we really it's not it's we're more worried about the who than the where and the how, because so having that where we get to come out and just have a lot of fun in a field, and make the most of it.
No, like you said, it's about the who, it's about the people. That's what makes it, no doubt about it. And what we were talking about at Banner with the counselors getting all involved, and what you were saying, Dylan, about trying to get everybody up there during the course of the summer, it is so important. And for those of us who have big day camps, that it's hard to get everybody up and out, but you can do it divisionally, 100%. And another place, where is everybody else gathered during the day? Lunchtime. Okay. There's no reason that you can't be getting counselors up there singing songs and whatever during lunch. It's a great opportunity to do it. And it's a great way to fill time. And just like you said, Dylan, you don't want people just sitting around on a bus ride being bored. It's the same thing at lunch. Lunch can be boring at times too. So if you have traditions and you have ways to get the counselors up there singing, get them on a picnic table, and have their campers cheering for them, it's a really, really easy way to build that kind of that vibe, that sleepaway camp kind of thing. And as far as other things that you can do when you have everybody together, because Dylan was naming a lot of like really sort of easy things that you can do, like you said, on a field where they're pulling out a little tiny stage every day. A joke of the day, like have a kid come up and tell a joke of the day. Just listen to it first. Very important. And that's a way to get everybody all psyched, right? Another thing that we've done in my camp is bring out a staff person, if your camp's big enough that they don't know everybody, and put like a big like bag over them and ask them questions, and like until people can guess who it is. There's lots of really cool, fun things. And the problem that we have at camps very often is that it's hard to find the people who can run these things. Banner's got Stacy, Liberty Lake's got me. All right. But not everybody has these people who can be these ringleaders. And when you say, oh yeah, run an assembly, do a joke of the day, like whatever, these can be very challenging for some people. So it's really important, going back to what Dylan just said about the who. It doesn't have to be the camp director, right? It could be the person that's just this cult of personality kind of person. And I remember, Stacy, when I was at your camp, you had this guy, I think was his name Mike. You had a guy who was like he was a teacher during the year, but he was like a ringleader, right?
Yeah, we have a huge leadership team of like 45
Right.
people.
But my point is, he wasn't
And each
wasn't a
one of
Schwartz.
them could run their own thing. In
Right.
fact,
But one of his superpowers was he can get up in front of people.
yeah,
So like identifying these people and putting them in positions, it doesn't have to be the person whose last name is the owner of the camp or whatever. That's what I'm saying.
right.
Right.
Absolutely. I had a couple counselors that were college guys, but they were really funny and outgoing and whatever. And so for a long time, they ran it all. And then they would get jobs at camps nearby, just getting their staff to see that it's cool for college guys to sing and dance and be silly, because they were having trouble getting the whole idea across that it is cool to be that guy. So.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
It's important to set that tone right from the start, like we do it during staff training, that this is our culture, this is what we
super
do.
smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Because the thing is that if you grew up going to camp, right? If you were Stacy and you were 1 week old and you're at camp, like, but I'm saying if you're brand new, if you've never been to camp before and you show up and it's all these flaky people like doing all these crazy stuff, like you can easily get sucked into that vortex,
Yeah.
but you got to be
Mhm.
intentional about it. You
Yeah.
got to actually create these opportunities, whether it's in staff orientation or when camp starts, and make it so that being silly is cool.
Yeah, and identifying that those people, like Sandra was saying, like you find and you exploit or use
Yeah.
those people that
Well, you compensate them.
yeah,
too.
yeah. But you're like, hey, I see something. You make it the most of those opportunities when you have those people. I would say though, it is hard. There are a lot of musically talented people out there, but there is another level of gift in leading in front of a large group. And
Yeah.
so that's something that I had to really learn. It took time for me to develop that. And so some of these early, we're mostly dealing with the teenage to high school staff, or sorry, teenage to college staff people, and they haven't developed that necessarily unless it's a gift a lot of times. So finding
Right.
that one person, or maybe a little older, bringing in someone that teacher that's teaching somewhere, finding those people that can lead and sing and entertain, but is not always there. And like I think with the last couple of years, actually, we haven't had that one person who's great in all those. So we've had to kind of piece together, and it's looked different than it has maybe in the past, but they have a lot of other talents that we've used and we've put out there. And so if it's okay that it doesn't always fit for us in these times. We're going to take advantage of who we have and what their parents. I'm still going to look though. I'm always looking.
Always be looking. Always be looking.
Looking for that one that can lead
Yeah.
well.
Well,
I'm
at
going to
Liberty
add
Lake,
that to my, I'm going to
yeah,
add
at
that to
Liberty
my
Lake,
interview questions.
shout out to Spirit Bob at Liberty Lake is one of these crazy guys. That's a great MC that we utilize when I'm not doing it. So Stace, if I was a 19-year-old at your camp and I got voted to be on your little birthday crew, whatever you want to call these song leaders, right? Do I get an extra $50 in my paycheck or anything like that?
Oh, I don't pay them extra, if they're on the birthday choir. They have to be comfortable enough to sing and lead a song. I'm like, you got to be ready to go, like singing the whole song without any preamble or anything, just ready to go. And it's usually people, a lot of the kids are like in choir, it's in high school or in college, they do some sort of singing and they like to do it. They like to perform, or they're on
Right. So
dance.
their compensation is they get to be in front of 1,000 people,
It's part of
singing and
that.
everything.
And then we have special rituals where different staff come up, and we have one song that we do. It's called My Dreams. This guy Victor wrote it, and for many years he was at camp and performed it, and we kind of adopted it and continue to do it. And we talk about it in that video that you had mentioned, the Bannerama video about believing in yourself. But when we do My Dreams, the the boys all take off their shirts and swing them over their heads, and the staff, a lot of the staff come running up on the stage and they're like singing it. So they're chanting, I believe in myself. There's nothing I can't do. Follow my dreams. I'll make them come true. No matter, I could keep going, but
Yeah, it's awesome.
it's like this thing. And so staff, they get more comfortable in groups and by seeing others do it. Sometimes people on our leadership team or staff, there's a group of girls who do the Spice Girls. I'm like, oh my God, it's the real Spice Girls. And and they're dressed up like the Spice Girls. And the next thing you know, a group of the male leadership are doing Backstreet Boys, and they have like a sing dance off, and the kids get excited to see them for that. And we have a special birthday song that we do with them. I forgot to mention that, like I interview them, the kids answer questions, and then we sing to them, but it's a special Banner birthday song. So we do that every single day.
That's great. And yeah, you got to get a birthday song. And, what I always implore is to try when you're interviewing people and you find out they went to sleepaway camp, those people have a wealth of ideas and songs and
Mhm.
cheers and all that, and just steal it from them, borrow it from them, do whatever you got, shake them down. But and it's funny when I have campers and some of them will get up to get older and they're going off to sleepaway camp, and I say, hey, listen, have fun at sleepaway camp, okay? And I want you to come back here as a counselor, and you're going to teach us all this great stuff you're learning at sleepaway camp, because there's just a lot more. It's much more normalized. It's much more of a forum to have those kind of things at sleepaway camp. And yeah, I still am working on that all the time. It's a work in progress constantly.
For sure.
All right. Well, I want to thank our friends at Campminder, at Camptivities, and Commercial Recreation Specialists for helping us bring this podcast to you. If you like what you hear, subscribe to the Day Camp Pod on your favorite podcast platform. Check out our show notes from all of our episodes at daycamppodcast.com. And like I said, the banner video will be on there. I would love to get a link to some Mad Balls, Stacy, just so you know. And Dylan, the link to your buddy's Spotify thing or whatever, because that sounds really awesome. I want to check that out, as well as contact info for Stacy and for Dylan and their camps, and for myself and Sam Thompson. Thanks for listening, and make yourself a better Day Camp Pro. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of the Day Camp Pod.
The Day Camp Podcast is brought to you by Go Camp Pro and the Go Camp Pro Podcast Network. Find a podcast for camp professionals of every age and stage at gocamp.pro/podcast. Thanks for listening, friends. Hey, Camp Pros, we love that our industry is built on sharing. In order to foster that spirit, we hope that whenever you share an idea that you learned from the Camp Hacker podcast, conference, summer camp professionals group, or wherever else, that you're quick to give credit where credit is due. That way, we can all encourage more camp pros to share the tips and tricks that will make camp better.